Banished, a city building strategy game that takes SimCity's play, laugh, grow aspect and turns it into a much more sinister build, survive, sustain. Banished is set in a time where there is no mass production. You start from the bottom with as little as a barn and some materials to get you started. Your choice of difficulty mode may land you with some extra gear to get started with, but the situation is usually pretty scarce. The idea of the game is to build gradually so you can sustain yourself. To do so, you need jobs, facilities, and food sources to keep everyone busy and productive, even the small children. What the game features is quite minimalistic in terms of a city building game, but that's what makes it good. It's difficult, but not unfair. You have the standard array of abilities you'd expect of an overbearing god, such as adding infrastructure, housing, and crop fields to maintain your growth and continued survival. You can also speed and slow the passage of time, which is nothing new, but balancing the jobs for different seasons is an interesting task. In winter you need more firewood and food, while spring and summer are an ideal time to collect resources and build more infrastructure. The way the job system works in Banished is very logical. For example, if you need labourers to get resources and you need tools to get resources quicker, the best action would be to build a blacksmith. Things like this make it seem like there's a lot of attention to detail in the game, and it gives you the illusion of a living, breathing society. Even though it is an automated system, you feel more involved as a player rather than watching the small village slowly crumble in on itself. The difficulty of the game is quite intense, but once you start rolling and have conjured up ways that will abolish your ever-ongoing food crisis, then the game starts to seem a lot more fair. Banished is very much about having tactics in place before you even start establishing your village. For example, making sure you've built minimal housing, which is a good way to get food, and then stockpiling required resources. Banished is extremely rewarding in this sense. If you haven't starved your village to death in the first few years, it's quite satisfying, as most of the time it feels like something could definitely go wrong, and it can in terms of disasters. But there's an ever-present feeling that something is going to turn upside down on itself. The one thing that games like SimCity and Civilization did right, which I feel Banished could definitely benefit from, is the ability for civilizations to collide. Whether it be a peaceful encounter or waging war, Banished feels lacking in this sense and a little too solitary. Aesthetically, the game looks and feels really good, which is impressive as the game comes in at around 200 megabytes on Steam. While it doesn't feature the greatest set of animations, and there is some clipping as villagers walk through objects, it's not really immersion breaking, as you're always trying to maintain something, so you're not focusing on these discrepancies. These complaints are just nitpicking though, as the game has no real downfalls, although some players might find its difficulty a deterrent. City building hasn't been this challenging in quite a while. A lot of what's here isn't new by any means, but Banished really makes you think and strategize, urging you to give it another go when you almost invariably end up with a ghost town.